Sleeping better, spending more time with family, no lost hours stuck sitting in traffic. While there is so much bad about this pandemic, not everyone is experiencing increased anxiety and sadness as our former lives of too much hustle and bustle have come to a halt. Some have found themselves in a better place these past couple of months, and we've got three of them with us now. Let's meet in Leeds, United Kingdom, Nadia Elawadi, a freelance science writer and editor. And in the provincial capital in Cabbagetown, Stephanie Pickering, a television producer, and in North Toronto, John Mavrianakis, a financial services and consulting executive. And it's great that finally, after 9 weeks, we may be able to shed a bit of light on some positive stories that are happening during this COVID crisis. John, let's start with you. Why are things better, do you think, for you right now than perhaps they were before?
I think for me, it really comes down to work-life balance and time with the family. Um, you know, Before it was literally, 6 a.m. to most evenings out with clients or customers till 8 to 10 p.m. Really full-time work and very little time for family and balance. And now it's 3 meals a day with the family. I work out every morning with my two boys for 45 minutes, go for a walk with my wife in the afternoons. And, it's actually a real balance for once between work and family, and it's wonderful to share time with them.
How old are the kids?
12 and 13, so they're still at that age where they still like me.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. They still want your company at this stage of the game.
Exactly, yeah.
Are you homeschooling, or what are you doing in that regard?
No, we're lucky that our boys both go to a private school, which has been, incredibly good in ensuring ongoing and continued education. So they're basically still on almost a 9 to 3 full day every day.
And are you still working, or what are you doing for income?
Yeah, so I'm still working, thankfully. My wife, who is in the dental vertical, she's fully shut down. So it's obviously challenging. And if this is a prolonged, downturn, it will be more challenging. But that stress of the financials hasn't hit us yet, thankfully.
Okay. Stephanie, let's go to you. How has your life changed since the pandemic hit?
It's been such a tremendous gift to spend this solid time with my kids in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise had access to. I travel a lot for my work. I spend a lot of time in an edit suite, crafting shows, working late. And it's just been an incredible gift to kind of live in the wonder of these kids. My children are 3 and 5, and we've been spending a lot of time in the forest, which has been pretty incredible. And just to watch
Time
them to be led by their own curiosity and then to kind of follow that up with, teaching them has been really wonderful.
You say time in the forest. You mean in sort of in the woods near Cabbagetown? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like in the woods, I'm always searching for places where we can go and, kind of do lessons. First of all, let them be led by their curiosity and then try to create a lesson around that in the forest. So survival skills or math with pine cones or um, also just sort of resilience around the weather. It's only recently warmed up. And so we've been out there, with our coats on when it was chilly. And so I think there's a lot of lessons that we've been able to learn during this time about resilience also.
Are you able to work at all?
I have been developing some projects in the evenings, doing some research for future ideas that I have, but my show that I was about to do involved travel, and so that show has been canceled. And so it was really disappointing, but one of the greatest gifts has been spending time with my kids and also seeing them create a bond together because they wouldn't have been together. They go to different schools, so they're spending one-on-one time and they don't seem to miss school, which I'm a little bit blown away by. Um,
And what are you doing for income?
I personally, thankfully, have been saving money. My husband is still working, so that's a tremendous gift. And so I know that that's a unique situation that I'm in for sure.
Gotcha. Nadia, how's it going over there in the United Kingdom?
It's going all right. I've been quite surprised with how things have gone for the past couple of months. I have a background of anxiety and low moods. I've had that for several years now. And because I've seen people around me become more and more anxious, I've been surprised to see that I'm actually managing my anxiety probably much better than I have in previous years, at least. And I think part of that is because life is so much simpler. And there are very clear rules. All I need to do is focus on washing my hands, staying at home, um, not touching my face, which I'm not always successful at. I don't have to make any real complex decisions about life right now because I simply can't, because there's no way to plan for things. And so it's made, the simplicity of life has made the dealing with anxiety much easier for me. And I think
Do
that's
you live
why
with,
for me things have been a little bit better than they have been.
understood. Do you live with anyone?
I do. I live with my husband. That's another thing. We're I think we're both in a privileged position. We're at that stage in life. We're in our 50s, and I work. He took early retirement, and so our financial situation is stable. It might become a little bit more worrisome if this situation prolongs. But right now it's stable, and so we're okay. And my kids all live in Egypt, and they're older. My youngest is 20, and so I don't have young children living with me in the house, which I know has been stressing a lot of people. So we're in quite a privileged position. The other thing is that we already have a routine. So I work from home. My husband's been at home for the past year because he's retired. And so we already have these routines with both of us being in the house together. It's all structured. We know how to deal with each other and with our little, the little things that we need to do during the day. And so I think we're in a privileged position compared to other people, but it's made life easy or simpler.
Well, I was going to say, you really find out how much you like your spouse once the kids have all moved out and he or she has retired. What have you learned about that?
Well, I already had that process. So when my husband took early retirement, we went through that 1 year of living in the house together all the time. And so no, we can do it. We do actually enjoy each other's company. We also know how to give each other some space. And so we live in a small house, not a large one, but we know how to move around so that we have enough space to think, or enough space to watch our programs, or enough space to work in my case. And then at the same time, we have our together time in the evenings.
Gotcha. John, let me bring you back in and ask you,
Yeah.
whether you think the the things that you have learned about how much better you like some parts of your life right now, whether you think you will be able to maintain that once the pandemic is sort of in the rearview mirror and life, you know, I won't say goes back to normal, but achieves a kind of a new normal, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's funny you asked that, Stephen, because that's what I've been thinking a lot about recently, which is a sort of regression back to the mean, how things were before. And for me, I think the ability to sort of maintain that connection with, my family and the boys. And I think this is really about resilience. And, I think if there were three things that I've learned out of this, it's, the ability to be flexible, optimistic, and empathetic. And if I can carry those three things forward and apply them to whatever it is going forward, I think it's highly valuable.
Could you give us an example of how your heightened empathy may have manifested itself now in a way that it might not have before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, you get, what this has really done is shown you people's lives beyond what their work persona is. You've really gotten ahead and seen behind the curtain. And so you realize, what everyone is going through, the challenges at home, because, really the kimono is sort of open and, this has really democratized everyone. So there isn't an agenda, there isn't, people's work persona and personal. We're all sort of at the exact same level. And so it's really allowed everyone to see that, everyone has a series of challenges. No one's life is perfect. And we all go through ups and downs, and now we're going through them all together.
How are you going to handle it, though, John, if and when your career sort of goes back to the way it was and you've got clients who want to see you at 8 o'clock at night again?
Yeah, therein lies the challenge. I think it becomes much more control over time, and learning the ability to say no, and focus on family as well, and really get much more structured on carving out time. So it's not to say that, they'll be home every evening, but it's to make sure that it's pretty clear that, we go ahead and say, 3 nights a week will be home and 2 nights a week will be out.
Stephanie, let me explore that with you. What about your life right now do you think you'll be able to maintain if and when a new normal is established?
I think for me, it's been powerful because I have thought a lot about a career transition into becoming a Montessori teacher. And so part of this time has been like, oh, yeah, you want to spend solid time with kids? Are you sure you want to do that? And so it's been a huge gift in that it's given me this solid time with the kids where I'm like, no, I could see myself doing this. I could see myself having this transition. I've been sort of sitting on this fence wondering if I should jump off or not. And that's not to say that, I won't blend those two worlds, my past experience and my future one. But for me, it's sort of been like, no, I think I could do this. I hate the idea of not having a 3 and a 5-year-old in my life. Like they are so full of curiosity. And this style of teaching where I am creating lessons based on following their curiosity. Like if I bring my son a page of math, he falls on the floor and doesn't want to do it. If I take him out into the forest and I take 10 pine cones and say, if I take 5 pine cones away, how many's left? He's all about it. So there's something about that. It's been a huge gift for me to imagine myself in another life and be able to actually be tossed into it.
That's such an interesting reaction because I have to tell you, most parents that I talk to who are now spending 24/7 with their kids because there's no childcare or there's no nanny or there's no school or whatever, they really can't wait for things to get back to normal so they can spend less time with their children. You've had the exact opposite reaction. You do know how unusual your circumstances are, eh?
I do recognize that. And, I think part of that, I didn't start here. I had a huge panic in my throat the day that the schools were canceled. I felt this feeling like I couldn't breathe. And I was in the grocery store before the announcement and people started to stream into the grocery store. And I was like, what on earth? And I got into my car and I started to think, wait a second, Stephanie, you were on lockdown as a child. You grew up on Vancouver Island, you were at your grandma's farm, and you lived in the forest. You are going to be fine. And so I've tried to channel that experience as a child and what was meaningful for me and try to create that for kids. And I recognize that I'm privileged to be able to stay home with my kids, but I do encourage everybody to get out into the forest and think about ways to learn in an environment that gives back so much and creates like a fundamental like love of learning. So yeah, I think that even though I'm in a different situation of realizing, I think that everyone can find a way to find joy outside and make it a learning environment so that they're not struggling with trying to teach their kids stuff on paper that they're like, Mom, you're a terrible teacher. Go play in the forest. And you'll be surprised by how much joy learning will have,
Nadia, let me find out from you. You mentioned your kids are in Egypt. How tough is that for you right now, having them so far away?
It's tough. It's tough. But we're able to keep in touch with each other. Of course, just the way everybody else is over social media and having video chats and things like that. It's what makes it most difficult is that I don't know when I'll be able to see them next because I don't know when air travel will start picking up again. I don't know when they won't have quarantines anymore, whether on that end over there or over here. And so not being able to, I don't like planning, so that's not the problem. It's more of just not knowing
Mm.
when I'll see the kids next. And so that's been difficult. And that's not just my situation because I'm an immigrant living in the United Kingdom. So I see that situation among many immigrant communities. So many people are worrying about when they'll be able to see their families next.
And you had been, if I have this right, accustomed to going to Egypt at least once a year and them coming to England at least once a year. So
Oh,
you
much
were in
more
touch
than
quite a
that.
bit, more than
We
that.
were much more than that. I was going at least 3 or 4 times a year. They would come
Huh.
over here once or twice a year, and so I was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But right now, I don't know when I'm going to be going next. But again, still, it's all right. It's the same situation for everybody all over the world, and that for all of us, I mean, I think that's one of the things that's helped me with the anxiety is that we're all now in the same position. And for me, that it makes it easier to breathe. It makes me easier to process it all. I don't feel like I'm alone. I've got all these complex problems that I have to deal with all on my own. Everybody is in the same position, in the same basket, and so it's fine. It's fine. As long as I know that the kids are fine, I'm okay.
And they are fine.
They are fine. Yeah,
Good.
they're staying
Good
at
to know.
home.
Good stuff. Well, I want to
Yeah.
thank the three of you for letting us sort of peer into your lives for a little bit here tonight on TVO, and thank you for sharing some stories from your lives that I suspect we need to hear more about these days as we're in week 9 of this COVID crisis. Nadia, John, Stephanie, thanks so much for joining us, and be well to all of you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.